What's up, military millionaires and other real estate investors? Today is week 2 of real estate rockstar YouTubers answering your questions. And today's question is, how did you get over analysis paralysis? Now, I know this is going to be a good one for you guys because analysis paralysis is something we all had to deal with at one point or another, right? It is a part of human nature to be afraid of the unknown. And so it's just definitely worth paying attention, because if these guys were able to get over it and you're stuck with analysis paralysis, maybe this will help you get over it. Or even if you don't have analysis paralysis, if you take on a bigger, scarier deal in the future, you may cross paths with it again. So this could help you out. Next up, we have Alex Felice, who I introduced last time, so here he is.
How did you overcome analysis paralysis? Well, the same way everybody does, by sucking up my fears and buying a house one day. Analysis paralysis affects everybody. It's the condition where you, no matter how much research and preparation you do, you're never gonna feel ready. That's a fear of the unknown. That's a standard human condition. It's something you're never gonna get over. Or it's never something that's never gonna not affect you when you start. The way I got over it was, I thought I had done a lot of research and a lot of education. I had enough money to buy a house in cash, and I thought, well, that seems about as ready as I could possibly get. So I started looking at deals, and I was passing on deals left and right. I was just too scared. And so I took a deal that I thought was a deal, and I thought I wanted to buy it, and I gave it to an investor friend of mine who lived locally, and I said, hey, would you buy this? He goes, yeah, I'll buy that. I said, okay, let me see if he's just talking smack or if he's actually gonna do it. So I gave him the deal, I asked him for a small cut, and he closed on it in 5 days. And I felt incredibly embarrassed because I had that deal. And so he bought like a $120,000 house that cash flows, and he bought it for like 50 grand, and he gave me 1,200 bucks happily. And that's when I vowed never to do that again. So I think if you are stuck in analysis paralysis, find a local investor who does what you want to do and give them a deal that you think is a deal and see if they take it down. And if they take it down, then you know, well, at least you're on the right track. You missed that one deal, but one deal doesn't matter. The fact that you have the confidence to go forward and buy the rest of the deals, that's what's important.
All right, Alex said research, education, and cash reserves, right? So if you have money in reserve in case something goes wrong, and you do your research and you educate yourself, and I think that's the big one, educate yourself, then you should be able to get past it, because even though you're kind of going to be fearful, you're going to be emotional, you're going to know that you know what you need to know. Yes, know that you know that you need to know, that you need to know what you know, that I know, that you know, that he knows, that anyway, you'll be able to buy that property. Next up, we have Mr. Chad Carson, who's going to give you some solid advice for how he accomplished getting over analysis paralysis.
How do you overcome analysis paralysis? Well, I've definitely been there. I think most of us have been there, whether it's real estate investing or anything. When we're starting something new, it can be overwhelming, particularly if it's a big topic. Like real estate investing is a huge topic. There's a lot of things to know. And so it's unrealistic to expect from yourself as a brand new investor that you're going to figure it all out. And yet we have to have some kind of knowledge and some kind of confidence before we can move forward. So here's my recommendation. Something that worked pretty well for me was to take the entire business of real estate investing and start zeroing in and focusing in and trying to find a little tiny slice of the business that not only you're interested in, something that you could get passionate about and learn about, but also you might have some affinity for and you're good at. And so I'll give you a couple of examples. When I first started my real estate investing business, I was 23 years old. I just graduated from college, and I didn't have money in the bank, so I had like $1,000. I didn't have even a house. I was living in a spare bedroom of a friend's house. I didn't have a lot of knowledge of the business. I was familiar with a few things, but I just gone to a couple of classes and I read a couple of books. And so I decided to get really good at one slice at the front of the business, which is being able to find deals. And actually the term for that, there's a term down south where we are investing in real estate. I'm in South Carolina, called being a bird dog, where it's kind of like a dog that you go hunting with. They would go to the birds in the bush and just point to it. The dog didn't know what to do with the birds once he found them. You just pointed to them. And that's essentially what I did in the beginning. I would go walk around neighborhoods, drive around neighborhoods, find houses that looked vacant, beat up. I would talk to realtors. I would send out letters, handwritten notes to people. I would just do a lot of beating the bushes, talking to people, looking for deals. And then I had other investors who actually had the money, the expertise, the knowledge, everything I didn't have. I would bring these leads to them, and I would make a small fee whenever they bought a deal that I brought them. So being a bird dog, that's just one particular example, but you can extrapolate that and apply it to any part of the business. So let's say you really enjoy remodeling and construction. Could you be a project manager for another investor who already has the deal and finds the deal, and you just go and check on the deal for them, take pictures, oversee things, pick up materials? You might have to start off just doing that for free at first for another investor just to learn, but maybe you make a small fee eventually and you help them out. So that's in the remodeling slice of the business. But you could also do the same thing for leasing. Let's say you wanted to get into understanding landlording and being a person who manages rental properties. Maybe you could get your rental license, your property management license, which is not that hard to do in the big picture. And then you go out and you find tenants for other landlords, and then you get a fee. Maybe it's half the first month's rent, maybe it's all the first month's rent, but you could get a fee for learning how to find tenants, screen them, show properties to them, and you don't have to own the rental properties. You're doing it for other people. So all of these there's lots of other ways to think about this, but if you're having a hard time getting started, find a little small slice of the business where you can learn the business, you can earn some money, and more importantly, you can move forward with your knowledge without being petrified because you don't know everything you need to know for the whole business.
So he recommended finding even a smaller niche than just buy and hold, but a specific part like finding the deal or analyzing the deal and becoming really good at that to get in with other investors and work with them and kind of slowly get warmed up to the niche. And I think that's really smart as well. Next up, we've got Mr. Matt Faircloth, the one and only, and he's going to give us his take right now.
How do I overcome paralysis by analysis? What I do is I just find that the more I take action, the more unparalyzed I get. So if I find myself stuck on analyzing something or on making a decision or on should I go left, should I go right, I find that just if I take some incremental steps, the path will start to become a little more clear on going left, going right. And so I try and insert when I feel paralyzed, I try and force myself to take some sort of an action, be that call somebody about the deal, maybe call the broker. And at some point I've got to just, grab my nose and jump in and have faith that if the deal either doesn't work out or if it doesn't go the way I think it's going to go, that there are still going to be paths and directions and everything like that. And the worst case scenario that I may think of is probably not going to be that bad. So perhaps it's another piece of advice I would give is if someone's feeling stuck, paralysis by analysis, think about worst case scenario. Well, do you lose a little bit of money? Probably not. Probably the deal just isn't as sweet as you thought it was going to be, but it's still probably pretty good. So perhaps thinking about worst case scenario, true worst case scenario, is maybe another way you can get around paralysis by analysis.
See, I like his answer because that's exactly it. It's like that old song from, I don't even know, I think it's like a Disney movie. You just put one foot in front of the other and soon you'll be walking out the door. Yeah, you just got to see that. So look, don't focus on like, I don't have a property, I need to jump into this property. Focus on like, I don't have a property, I should look for some. I should look for a good agent. I should look for a good property manager or lender. I should build this connection. Maybe I should go look at some properties. Let's write an offer on that property. And just slowly take steps. And if you just focus on taking just the next step, sooner or later you'll end up in contract, right? As long as you pull that trigger. And once you're in contract, your agent will walk you through everything and it will be less scary because there'll be people cheering you on, like me, your agent. As long as it's a good deal, you'll be all right. Next up, we have Mike DeMazzo, our active duty Navy brethren down here in San Diego, who by the time these come out, I think will be moved, but check him out.
How I overcame analysis paralysis was to have that end in mind. I'm referring to having an exit plan once that scenario comes into play. So say you do have a deal and you want to move forward, think of like the exit plan if deals go sour and all that. You want to take it one step at a time, one day at a time, meaning like 5 days later you realize like, wow, you're 5 steps ahead from when you first started.
I like the having an exit strategy piece because I think psychologically, if you already know what the ending is going to look like or have multiple options, that should make it easier to get into as far as you having a safety net. Now, again, he said one step at a time, right? I think that's good advice. Just keep doing the next thing. And now we've got Mr. Dan Wynn of the Military Cash Flow Group, and he's going to talk to you about his thought.
How did I overcome analysis paralysis? All right, so the way I went about it was 2 things. One through education, and that's just reading books, podcasts, going to seminars, things like that. That helped me understand how to invest, how to do this the right way, right? So that's number 1. Number 2 was I went on Craigslist at the time, and I volunteered my services. I went and did manual labor on projects to get my foot in the door and kind of get on site and understand how this whole entire thing works, how projects manage, how to talk to contractors, all that other stuff. So that is what I did to overcome analysis paralysis, and that helped and paid dividends, especially the intern portion. That paid dividends when I went into my first rental property. So definitely advise that you get educated, and then 2, try to provide value to someone out there that's doing what you're already doing. And how you do that is by figuring out a hole that you might be able to fulfill. Maybe you are good at social media and you can help them out with their social media platform. Maybe you're good at raising money, you can help them out with that. Maybe you're good at, there's a plethora of things that you could be good at that that particular investor or investment group has holes in. You just got to identify them, and then you can fulfill those holes, easily getting your foot in the door and possibly getting a partner in the process.
Again, education, and then partner up with some people, right? I think that's good advice as well. Look, so for my thoughts on this, so we had 2 people say education, 2 people say just take the next step, and then Chad kind of mentioned like finding your niche as far as like partnering, like working with other investors, but partnership was also mentioned. So I think those are all great ideas. I think if you can get around other investors, that will help you out. I think Alex might have said it, one of them said it, I believe, the idea of having another investor take a look at your deal. So that's ultimately what I was doing when I first started. So I was learning, I was networking, and then taking action. But when I got to the action piece, what I would do is I would take my analysis and everything, and I would show it to like 2 or 3 successful real estate investors. Now, I was not going up and saying, would you please analyze this deal for me? Or would you please analyze this deal with me? Or whatever, because that takes a lot of time. And honestly, I can tell you, I get that a lot, right? And I don't have time. I'd love to help people, but I mean, 30, 45 minutes on every deal, like that's a lot. So what I was doing is saying, hey, I analyzed this deal. This is what I got. Can you just take a look? You don't need to run through everything, but just tell me if there's any major red flags. I figured if I showed 3 different people, like just a basic spreadsheet of everything, and they looked and they didn't see any like, wow, you're missing insurance, or you're missing utilities, or you only budgeted 2% for vacancy. Like if there were no major red flags, then I would just say, would you be interested in this? Like what would you, would this be something you might look at? And now take that with a grain of salt. They may be a different style investor. They may be willing to take on more risk. They may be willing to take on less risk. So that part doesn't matter. But if you did all your due diligence and you think it's a decent deal and they have no red flags, then go for it. Just go for it. If something big comes up in the inspection, you can break the contract. If you can't get financing, you can break the contract. But you're covering your ass because of all those due diligence like contingencies and stuff. But if you're not willing to take action when you think it's a good deal and 3 other successful people don't see anything wrong with it, you're probably never going to take action. So just make the next step and rely on your education and just roll. All right, this was week 2 of asking real estate YouTube rock stars questions, and I hope you're getting something out of this. Please let me know down in the comments if you like this stuff and what other YouTubers you would like me to invite into the group for the next go round. Make sure you smash that like button and you subscribe to the channel so that you can see more of this awesome content. Have a great day, you beautiful people.